Alright, have you ever noticed that even when your life looks okay, nothing's technically wrong? Your body still feels tense? Not anxious in a dramatic way, just on edge, like you're bracing for something, like you're waiting, and you don't even know what you're waiting for. Today, we're going to talk about why that happens and why it has nothing to do with you being weak, broken, or overly sensitive. Welcome to Spark, a place for healing. Today, I want to show you something most of us were never taught. Your sense of safety does not come from how good your life looks on paper. It doesn't come from your job, your relationship, your home, or your bank account. It comes from whether your nervous system believes you're safe. And once you understand this, your reactions start to make sense. There are three stages your nervous system moves through when it comes to safety. The first is survival mode, where your body is always bracing. The second is coping mode, where you look functional and capable, but your system is constantly working overtime. And the third is regulation, where your body actually believes you're safe. Not logically, not I know I should be fine, but felt safety. Safety doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your nervous system. Your nervous system decides how quickly you panic, how long you stay overwhelmed, how deeply you can rest, how safe calm actually feels. That's why two people can live very similar lives. Think of your nervous system like the operating system on your phone. It was installed early, before language, before perspective, before you had a choice. It learned safety through experience, and it learned danger through experience. Those experiences wrote the code. And most of us are still running childhood code in an adult life. In survival mode, your nervous system has one job: keep you alive. So it scans, even on good days. Your jaw stays tight, your shoulders don't drop, your thoughts don't slow down. You replay conversations, you expect something to go wrong. And here's the key part: you might not even call this anxiety. It just feels like being you. If your nervous system lives here long enough, this starts to feel normal. Bracing feels normal. Tension feels normal. Being on feels normal. Calm, on the other hand, can feel strange, sometimes even unsafe. Survival mode usually isn't caused by one big event. It's repetition, emotional unpredictability, criticism instead of comfort, walking on eggshells, becoming the strong one too early. Your body learns something very intelligent. If I stay alert, I'll be okay. You didn't choose this. Your body chose it for you. Coping mode is where many high-functioning people live. You're productive, capable, reliable, but inside, your nervous system is tired. So you cope. You stay busy. You stay productive. You stay in control. It's survival, just better packaged. The cost of coping is that your body never truly rests. You sleep, but wake up tired. You slow down, and everything catches up. That's not failure. That's your nervous system asking for safety. Regulation feels different. Not perfect, but grounded. You still feel stress, but it doesn't hijack you. Quiet feels like relief, not danger. Your nervous system is finally on your side. Your nervous system isn't checking facts. It's checking patterns, tone, pauses, silence. It's asking, does this feel like something from before? Your life changed. Your map didn't. You can't think your way into safety. Your nervous system learns through experience. Small repeated moments that say, right now, I'm okay. If you ever wondered why you feel unsafe when nothing's wrong, now you know. You're not broken. You're not dramatic. You're a human nervous system doing exactly what it learned to do. Take a breath. Understanding is the first moment of safety. Now let's start with understanding survival mode. This is where your journey of change actually begins. Not by forcing yourself to be different, but by finally seeing what's been happening inside you. Because the moment you understand survival mode, you stop taking your reactions personally. What you thought was overreacting was your body trying to protect you. It wasn't random. It wasn't weakness. It was a system doing its job. When you understand survival mode, you realize something that changes the way you see yourself. You were never too sensitive. What you call sensitivity was often accuracy. You were reading the room, tracking tone, noticing shifts other people ignored. And in an environment where safety was uncertain, that ability wasn't a flaw. It was how you stayed connected to what was real. This is why willpower didn't fix it. Because you weren't dealing with the mindset problem. You weren't dealing with the motivation problem. You weren't dealing with a discipline problem. You were dealing with a protective system. And protective systems don't shut down because you decide they should. They don't respond to logic the way the mind does. Protection doesn't turn off because of insight. It turns down when the body starts to believe the threat is over. Survival mode is not a flaw. It's evidence of adaptation. Your body learned the rule based on experience, not theory. It learned this is how I stay alive here. Not always physical danger, sometimes emotional danger, relational danger, unpredictability. And when your body solved that, it wasn't weakness, it was intelligence. You don't shame intelligence, you understand it. Understanding survival mode gives you an identity shift because it changes the story from something's wrong with me to something happened and my body adapt. That one shift removes so much confusion. It turns your past into context, not condemnation. It turns your patterns into information, not identity. And once the shame leaves, your system often softens before you even do anything. That changes everything. Coping mode often gets rewarded. People praise you for being capable, reliable, strong, and the world loves coping mode because it looks stable from the outside. But your nervous system doesn't experience that as safety. It experiences that as performance, as pressure, as responsibility, as I can't drop the ball. So you keep functioning, but internally, the system never truly powers down. When you understand coping mode, you finally see why rest felt uncomfortable. Stillness removed the structure that was keeping your system regulated, so your body panicked. Not because rest is bad, but because it felt, well, unfamiliar. Because when you've been surviving through emotion, stillness can feel like exposure, like you are unprotected, like the noise is gone, and now you can hear everything. That's not failure. That's your nervous system telling the truth about what it knows. You weren't bad at relaxing. You were good at functioning. Coping mode taught you how to survive efficiently, how to be productive through stress, how to keep moving even when you're tired, how to keep your life together even when your body was asking for a break. But coping mode did not teach you how to feel safe doing nothing, how to be still without bracing, how to rest without waiting for the next problem. So relaxing wasn't a skill you failed at, it was a state your system never learned to trust. Control was never about power. It was about predictability, because predictability reduces uncertainty, and uncertainty to a nervous system often reads danger. So control became a strategy, not because you're intense, not because you're rigid, not because you just like things a certain way, but because control kept your inner world stable when something in the past felt unstable. Understanding this reframes control from a personality trait to a safety strategy. When you understand coping mode, you stop asking, why can't I just let go? Because that question carries shame. And instead, you start asking, why am I still protecting myself? That question carries information. It shifts the lens from judgment to curiosity, from I'm broken to I'm guarding. And when you see the pattern clearly, you don't have to fight yourself anymore. Understanding regulation is crucial because regulation is not constant calm. It's not a personality. It's not being unbothered. Regulation is flexibility, is recovery, is range, is coming back faster after stress. You still feel things. You still get triggered sometimes, but you're not hijacked for as long. That's the real definition of a regulated system, not perfection, responsiveness. For many people, safety feels boring at first, not because something's wrong, but because your nervous system was used to intensity. When you've lived with tension as your baseline, calm can sometimes feel like emptiness, like something's missing. And that's where people get confused. They think they're not the type for peace, but that stillness doesn't work for them, but often is just contrast, a nervous system adjusting to a lower volume. When your nervous system feels safer, your relationships change, not because people change, but because your interpretation does. You stop reading threat into tone. You stop reading rejection into pauses. You stop reading danger into silence. Tone feels neutral instead of threatening. Silence feels spacious instead of dangerous. And the biggest shift is this: you don't have to work as hard to feel okay around people because your body isn't scanning the whole time. Understanding regulation helps you see the difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is automatic, fast, protective. Response is regulated. It includes space. That gap between stimulus and your next move is where safety lives. Because when you have a gap, you have a choice. And when you have a choice, your nervous system doesn't need to stay on guard as much. Understanding doesn't fix everything instantly, obviously, but it removes shame, it removes self blame, it removes confusion. It gives your nervous system something you rarely had: clarity. And clarity lowers threat. Because when you know what's happening, your body doesn't have to treat every sensation as a mystery. Understanding is not the finish line, but it is often the first moment your system feels, maybe I'm not in danger. Maybe I'm just learning. And that alone lowers threat in the nervous system. You don't start by fixing your thoughts. You don't start by reframing, convincing, and pushing yourself into calm. You start by listening to your body. Because survival doesn't live in your mind, it lives in your physiology. That's where the tension shows up. That's where the bracing happens. That's where the alarm systems learn its job. And if safety is going to change anything, it has to meet your system exactly what it learned fear in the first place. The first real shift is noticing, not correcting, not improving, not managing. Most people try to override their body the moment they feel discomfort. They tell themselves to calm down, to relax, to stop reacting. But safety doesn't come from being corrected, it comes from being seen. When you let your body show you what it's holding without trying to fix it, you send the first signal that something is different now. Nervous systems don't change through insight alone. Understanding helps, but it's not enough. They change through repeated experiences, through small, consistent signals that say, nothing bad is happening right now. Not once, not dramatically, but over and over again in ordinary moments. Those micro signals are how your system learns safety, the same way you once learned threat. This is why big changes usually fail. Not because you lack discipline, but because they overwhelm the nervous system. Overwhelm doesn't feel like motivation to the body, it feels like danger. So the system resists, it tightens, it pulls you back into familiar patterns, not to sabotage you, but to protect you from what it feels like too much, too fast. Real change almost always happens slower than you expect. And that can be frustrating, I understand that. But it also happens faster than you think. When safety becomes consistent, not intense, not dramatic, just predictable. When your system knows what to expect, it just doesn't have to stay on guard all the time. You don't need to drop all your coping strategies. They helped you survive for a reason. What matters is reducing their intensity, not ripping them away. When you remove too much at once, your system doesn't feel healed, it feels abandoned. Gradual change tells your body, we're still safe. We're just doing this a little differently now. Don't wait until life becomes calm, because for most of us, it just won't. Instead, safety gets added inside movement, inside work, inside responsibility. Regulation is about life, it's not about stopping life. It's about staying connected to your body while living it. That's how safety becomes real, not conditional. Rest doesn't need to feel good at first. That expectation alone can make it stressful. It only needs to feel non-threatening. Even neutral is enough. Your system builds capacity slowly by learning that stillness doesn't equal danger. Comfort comes later. Safety comes first. You don't need to perform calm. That's very important. You don't need to look regulated. Don't force. Forced calm is still pressure, and pressure keeps the system alert. Real regulation happens when calm is allowed, not demanded. When your body is ready, it settles on its own. No performance needed or required. Safety isn't built in breakthroughs. It's built in moments. Small ones, unimpressive ones, often boring ones. Moments where nothing bad happens and your body notices that it didn't need to brace. These moments add up quietly, reliably. Progress can be misleading. It keeps the mind in charge. Safety is different. It's felt, not measured. Very, very important. Not measured. You start noticing moments where your shoulders drop, where your breath deepens, where you don't immediately tense. Those are the signs your system is learning, even if your life looks messy. Regulation is not a destination you arrive at, it's the direction you move in. You notice you come back faster after stress, you don't stay stuck as long, you recover more easily. That's regulation, not perfection, responsiveness. Regulation doesn't happen in isolation. Nervous systems are social. Safe relationships matter, not perfect ones. Consistency matters more than intensity. Being met again and again in ordinary ways teaches your system that connection doesn't equal danger. You don't force safety. You don't argue your way into it. You allow it through repetition, through patience. Every time your body experiences something intolerable instead of overwhelming, it updates the map just a little. That's how trust is built biologically. You don't need to become someone new. You don't need to fix who you are. You just need your nervous system to feel safe enough to stop protecting you all the time. And when it does, clarity increases, energy returns, choice expands, and everything else follows. Understanding changes how your system relates to itself. Nothing to force, nothing to fix, just awareness. That's it for today. Thanks for spending this time with us. If this resonated, take a moment and comment on what your body is learning right now. Naming it is part of the process. Share, like, and comment, and be part of our community. We're Spark Growth, your companion on the path of healing.